My dear friends, life often places us in situations where we feel incomplete, where society whispers in our ears that without someone beside us, we are broken. But let me remind you of a truth. You are not incomplete because someone is missing from your life. You are complete because the divine power of God resides within you. A woman is not defined by her husband, her marriage, or her relationships. She is defined by her strength, her resilience, and her connection with God's eternal wisdom. There are countless women in this world who live without a husband, some by choice, some by circumstance. But should that mean they are alone? No. Because when you walk with God, you are never truly alone. The divine stands with you in every tear, in every laughter, in every step of your journey. This speech today is not about sorrow, but about strength, not about loneliness, but about light, not about dependency, but about discovering the limitless power already within you. Let us explore together how a woman can rise, shine, and live with dignity, joy, and fulfillment, even when the world tries to label her as alone. When a woman finds herself walking through the corridors of life without a husband by her side, society is often quick to remind her of what is missing. There may be whispers, there may be unspoken judgments, and sometimes there may even be an inner emptiness that quietly knocks at her heart. But in those very moments when the world tries to convince her that she is alone, she has the chance to realize one of the deepest truths of human existence. She is never truly alone. The presence of God, unseen yet ever so real, becomes her truest, most faithful companion. Think of it for a moment. Every person in our lives, whether husband, wife, friend, or family member, has their own limitations. They cannot be with us every single second. They cannot understand our thoughts fully, and they cannot always ease our pain. But God, the eternal source of love, is present in every breath, in every heartbeat, in every thought that crosses our mind. When a woman begins to anchor her life in this divine companionship, loneliness transforms into strength, silence becomes prayer, and emptiness becomes a sacred space for inner growth. Consider the story of a woman who, after years of marriage, suddenly found herself widowed. The world around her seemed to crumble, and every day felt heavier than the last. At first she thought her life had lost all meaning. The house was quieter, the festivals felt dull, and the night seemed longer. But slowly she began to turn her gaze inward. Instead of crying into a pillow, she started whispering her thoughts to God before sleeping. Instead of complaining about her struggles, she started thanking the divine for the breath she still had and the strength to move forward. Over time, she discovered that while she may have lost her husband, she had not lost the guiding presence of God. That realization gave her courage to live, smile, and inspire others who thought life had abandoned them. This connection with God does not require temples, rituals, or complicated practices. It begins with something as simple as sitting quietly, closing the eyes, and feeling the presence of the divine within. It is a conversation from the heart where you share your struggles, your dreams, your fears, and your gratitude. And in that quiet dialogue, you begin to feel a presence that never leaves, never judges, and never fails you. This is the companionship of God, one that outshines all earthly relationships because it is eternal, unconditional, and unbreakable. There are times when loneliness feels like a burden too heavy to carry. A woman may return home from a long day and there is no one waiting to ask, "How was your day?" She may fall ill and have no husband by her side to care for her. In such moments, she can either drown in despair or rise in faith. When she chooses faith, she begins to see God's hand in the smallest details. The kindness of a neighbor, the smile of a child, the warmth of sunlight through the window. All of these become whispers from God saying, "I am here. I have never left you." What is more powerful than knowing that the divine listens to every sigh, every silent tear, every unspoken prayer? Human beings may fail us. Promises may break. Relationships may end. But God's companionship is steadfast. It does not fade with time, it does not weaken with distance, and it does not change with circumstances. This is why a woman, even without a husband, is never truly alone. She carries within her the greatest companion she could ever have, the infinite presence of God. Another simple example is from everyday life. Imagine a woman cooking alone in her kitchen. The sound of silence may feel heavy at times, but when she stirs the food while chanting God's name, when she turns cooking into an offering rather than a chore, that silence transforms into serenity. The act of preparing a meal becomes an act of love shared with the divine. She no longer feels that she is cooking for an empty house. She feels she is cooking in the presence of God, who is always seated at her table. Such a shift in perception changes loneliness into sacred companionship. This is why connection with God is not an option. It is a lifeline. It is what sustains the heart when worldly support fades. It is what strengthens the spirit when society points fingers. It is what brings light into the darkest nights and joy into the most ordinary days. When a woman realizes this, her loneliness becomes her teacher. It teaches her to rely not on the presence of another person, but on the eternal presence of God. It teaches her to find fulfillment not in external validation, but in internal peace. So my friends, let us remember this. A woman without a husband is not without love. She is not without support. And she is not without strength, for she walks with God, the companion who never abandons, never fails, and never stops loving her. And when she learns to walk in the shadow of that divine presence, she becomes stronger than the storms, braver than the obstacles, and brighter than the darkness. Because with God as a companion, she is never truly alone. From the very beginning, many women are taught that their value lies in how well they play the roles given to them by society. A good daughter, a good wife, a good mother. Titles that sound noble, but often become the only measure of her worth. But the truth is, a woman's self-worth is far greater than any relationship she holds. She is valuable not because she belongs to someone, but because she belongs to herself and to God's creation. Imagine a diamond. Whether it is placed in a crown or left on the table, its shine does not depend on where it sits. Its value does not decrease simply because it is not worn by someone. In the same way, a woman's worth does not depend on whether she has a husband, whether she is married, or whether society approves of her. Her worth lies in her character, her compassion, her wisdom, and her ability to touch lives around her. There are countless examples from daily life where women have proven that their identity is not tied to a relationship, but to their own abilities. Consider the single mother who raises her children with dignity, working day and night not just to feed them, but to instill values of strength and kindness. Society may pity her for being without a husband, but her children see her as a hero. Her workplace sees her as dependable, and God sees her as a soul fulfilling her purpose with unmatched courage. She is not defined by who is missing in her life. She is defined by the greatness of what she gives to life. When a woman begins to measure her worth by her inner qualities instead of her outer circumstances, she rises above the need for validation. She no longer asks, "Am I enough without a husband?" Instead, she declares, "I am enough because I am me." This shift in perspective is transformative. She starts walking with confidence, speaking with clarity, and living with a sense of freedom that no social pressure can take away. Think about how often women are told, "You are incomplete until you are married." These words may echo in many cultures, but they are far from the truth. Completeness is not about another person completing you. It is about you discovering the fullness of your own existence. When a woman discovers her talents, her passions, and her connection with God, she realizes she has everything she needs within herself. A husband can be a partner, a companion, a supporter, but never the source of her worth. That worth is divinely placed in her soul the moment she was created. Take an everyday scenario. A woman who lives alone and decides to learn a new skill like painting, gardening, or writing. Every stroke of her brush, every seed she plants, every word she writes becomes an expression of who she is. Not someone's wife, not someone's daughter, but simply herself. Slowly she begins to see that she is not waiting for someone to bring meaning into her life. She is already creating meaning for herself. This is what self-worth beyond relationships looks like. It is the ability to stand in front of the mirror and smile. Not because someone else loves you, but because you love the person looking back at you. There is also great peace in understanding that relationships may come and go, but self-worth must remain unshaken. A husband may pass away, a marriage may break, or circumstances may change. But none of these can strip away the value of a woman's heart, mind, and spirit. The world may say she is alone now, but God whispers, she is still my masterpiece. Sometimes women sacrifice their dreams, passions, and even their identities just to fit into the box that society expects of them. But the strongest women are those who rise beyond these limitations and embrace who they truly are. Their worth is not in how perfectly they meet others' expectations, but in how authentically they live their own truth. When she chooses authenticity, she chooses freedom. Another simple example, imagine a woman who loves to read, who spends her evenings with books instead of conversations. Society might label her as lonely, but she knows she is not. In those books, she expands her mind, learns new lessons, and connects with wisdom from across the world. Her evenings are not empty. They are filled with growth, peace, and inspiration. This is what it means to value yourself beyond societal definitions. So, my friends, let us remind ourselves and remind every woman we meet, you are not valuable because of your relationship status. You are valuable because of your existence. You are not precious because someone chooses you. You are precious because you were created with divine intention. Your worth is not measured by rings, titles, or labels, but by the light you carry within your soul. A woman without a husband is not without worth. In fact, her journey may open doors to discovering a deeper self, a freer life, and a closer connection with God. She learns that her smile has value, her wisdom has value, her kindness has value, and her very being has value. This understanding becomes her shield against society's judgments and her strength during life's storms. Self-worth beyond relationships is the foundation of true empowerment. When a woman embraces it, she no longer seeks approval. She no longer fears rejection, and she no longer feels incomplete. She walks tall. She shines brightly, and she inspires others simply by living in the truth of who she is. And that truth, my friends, is that she is whole, she is strong, and she is worthy. Always with or without a husband. Life has a way of testing every single one of us. But the weight of those tests often falls heaviest on women who walk alone without a husband. There are days when she must face the world with courage, even though her heart is trembling inside. There are nights when silence surrounds her, and it feels as if the whole world has forgotten her existence. Yet it is in these very moments of challenge that a woman's true strength is revealed. Just like gold is refined through fire, a woman's character is refined through the struggle she endures. When challenges come, they can either break us or build us. For a woman living without a husband, every challenge becomes an opportunity to discover her own hidden power. She may not realize it at first, but every time she chooses to face the difficulties rather than run from them, she becomes stronger, braver, and more resilient. Strength is not built in times of comfort. It is built in the furnace of trials. Take, for example, a woman who suddenly becomes the head of her household after losing her husband. At first, fear grips her. How will she manage the finances, raise her children, or even deal with the loneliness that seeps into her evenings? The first steps are always shaky. She might cry herself to sleep, doubt her abilities, and feel crushed under the weight of responsibility. But slowly, step by step, she learns. She learns how to budget her money, how to fix small things in the house, how to deal with challenges at work, and most importantly, how to stand tall when others expect her to fall. With every challenge she faces, she grows stronger. Not because life became easier, but because she became tougher. Strength through challenges is not about pretending that pain does not exist. It is not about hiding tears or wearing a mask of false courage. It is about embracing the reality of difficulties while still choosing to rise above them. It is about saying, yes, this is hard, but I am harder. Yes, this storm is fierce, but my spirit is fiercer. A woman who faces her challenges with such determination becomes an inspiration not only to herself, but also to everyone who watches her. Consider the simple daily challenges many women face. Waking up early, going to work, cooking meals, paying bills, handling family expectations, and dealing with loneliness at the same time. On the surface, these may look ordinary. But when a woman carries all these responsibilities alone, they become extraordinary acts of courage. Each day she completes successfully is a victory, a reminder that she is not weak, but incredibly strong. Sometimes challenges appear in the form of society's judgment. People may look at a woman without a husband and whisper, she cannot handle life alone. But it is precisely in proving them wrong that her strength shines the brightest. Every achievement, no matter how small, becomes a statement, I can, I will, I already am. She pays her own bills, makes her own decisions, or raises her children with dignity. She shows the world that strength does not come from who stands beside her, but from who stands within her. Think about nature for a moment. A tree standing alone in the middle of a field has no other trees to shield it from the storm. The winds hit it harder, the sun burns it stronger, and the rains drench it deeper. Yet, it is that very tree which grows the toughest roots and stands the tallest in the landscape. In the same way, a woman who faces life without the shelter of a husband grows roots of strength, resilience, and independence that no storm can uproot. Daily life examples remind us how strength is born from challenges. A woman fixing a broken chair in her home may not realize it, but she is proving her independence. A woman who goes alone to the market, negotiates for her needs, and returns home with confidence is training her courage. A woman who comforts herself in the middle of the night with prayer instead of sinking into despair is building her spiritual strength. These small victories accumulate over time until she realizes she is no longer the same person who once doubted herself. She has become unshakable. What's beautiful is that strength through challenges does not make a woman hard or bitter. It makes her compassionate and wise. She knows what it feels like to struggle, so she offers kindness to others in pain. She knows what it feels like to carry burdens, so she lends a hand to those who stumble. The same struggles that could have broken her instead turn her into a pillar of strength for others. The truth is, life will never be without challenges. But a woman who has faced her battles alone understands that challenges are not curses. They are teachers. They teach her patience when she feels restless. They teach her courage when fear tries to paralyze her. They teach her resilience when giving up looks easier. And most importantly, they teach her that God has placed within her a strength she never knew existed. So whenever a woman feels overwhelmed by the weight of her struggles, let her remember this. Her challenges are not proof of her weakness. They are proof of her strength. Each hardship is molding her into someone extraordinary. Each obstacle is sharpening her spirit like a sword, and each storm is carving out a deeper wisdom within her soul. In the end, strength through challenges is not just about surviving. It is about thriving. It is about standing tall and declaring, I may walk this road alone, but I walk it with courage. I may face struggles, but they will not define me. I am stronger today because of what I have endured, and I will only grow stronger tomorrow. This is the power of a woman who embraces her challenges, transforms them into stepping stones, and rises higher than anyone ever imagined. There is a kind of freedom that cannot be bought, borrowed, or gifted. It must be built from within for a woman living without a husband. This freedom is not just an idea, it is a necessity. Independence is not about rejecting companionship or refusing help. It is about realizing that your dignity, confidence, and peace do not depend on someone else's presence. Independence is empowerment because it allows a woman to stand tall, to walk her path with grace, and to live life on her own terms, without waiting for permission. From the moment a girl is born, she often hears voices around her telling her she will one day be someone's wife, someone's daughter-in-law, someone's partner. Rarely is she told that she is already whole on her own, that she can create her own destiny, and that she is capable of being the author of her life. But when a woman grows into independence financially, emotionally, and spiritually, she rewrites the script society handed her. She proves that she's not just someone's responsibility, she is her own strength. Consider a simple daily example. A woman who lives alone must handle the small and big challenges of her household. Paying the bills, repairing something broken, arranging her life with order. At first, these responsibilities may feel heavy, especially if she once relied on a partner to take care of them. But the first time she goes to the bank alone and manages her finances successfully, she feels a spark of empowerment. The first time she changes a light bulb, fixes a leaking tap, or negotiates with confidence in the market, she feels a sense of pride that is priceless. These may seem like small victories to the world, but to her they are reminders that she is capable, resourceful, and strong. Financial independence especially is a cornerstone of empowerment. A woman who earns her own living holds her head high in society. She no longer feels like a burden, and she does not have to depend on anyone's mood or mercy to fulfill her needs. Every rupee she earns becomes a symbol of her resilience, and every decision she makes about her finances becomes a declaration of her freedom. She knows that she can stand on her own feet, and that knowledge becomes her armor against life's uncertainties. Emotional independence is just as powerful. Many women, when they find themselves alone, may at first feel a void in their hearts. The absence of someone to lean on emotionally can feel overwhelming. But slowly, as she learns to comfort herself, to heal herself, and to find joy within her own company, she discovers an independence that no relationship can match. She no longer feels solitude because solitude becomes her teacher. She learns to enjoy a cup of tea with her own thoughts, to go for a walk without needing a hand to hold, and to sleep peacefully knowing that her happiness is not tied to someone else's presence. That emotional independence is empowerment in its purest form. Spiritual independence deepens this empowerment even further. A woman who connects with God in her own way through prayer, meditation, or reflection understands that she is never truly alone. She does not need someone else to validate her existence because the divine presence already fills her heart with purpose. This independence of spirit makes her unshakable in the face of trials. People's opinions may change, relationships may come and go, but her connection with God and with herself remains unbreakable. Let us not forget that independence is also about choices. A woman who is empowered does not let society dictate what she must wear, where she must go, or how she must live. She may choose a simple life, or she may choose a grand one. But the beauty is that it is her choice. That freedom to decide to carve her own path is what makes her truly powerful. Imagine a woman who chooses to travel alone, who packs her bags and goes to explore the world, not because someone else is accompanying her, but because she wants to see life with her own eyes. At first, she might feel fear. What if she gets lost? What if something goes wrong? But the more she explores, the more confident she becomes. She learns to navigate new places, to meet new people, to rely on her own instincts. By the end of her journey, she realizes she has not just traveled the world, she has traveled within herself and discovered strength she never knew she had. Independence, however, is not about rejecting relationships or refusing love. It is about knowing that even if love comes or goes, she remains whole. It is about understanding that while companionship can add to her joy, it is not the source of her joy. A woman who embraces independence is not hard or unapproachable. She is confident, radiant, and free. Her independence allows her to love more deeply because her love is not born out of need, but out of choice. There is something incredibly inspiring about watching a woman walk through life with this kind of independence. She may face hardships, but she faces them with courage. She may face loneliness, but she turns it into solitude. She may face judgments, but she rises above them with dignity. Her independence is not arrogance, it is self-respect. It is the quiet strength that whispers, I can take care of myself. I can build my own life. I can rise no matter what. Independence is empowerment because it transforms fear into freedom, and dependency into dignity. It gives a woman the wings to fly not away from her responsibilities but toward her dreams. And when she spreads those wings, the world cannot help but admire her flight. So, my friends, let us remember this truth. A woman who embraces independence is never powerless. She is empowered, she is capable, and she is unstoppable. Her independence is not a sign of loneliness. It is a symbol of strength. And when she lives with that strength, she becomes not only an inspiration for herself, but also a guiding light for others who are still learning to believe in their own for.